Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 821. I had white pieces and started off with knight f3, going for a Reti opening, and my opponent plays the very unusual move knight to c6. So you can see that's pretty far down on the list. And if you want the kind of best position against a move like knight c6, if you start out this way, probably can continuing with either e4 or d4 as suggested by the opening book is the way to get the biggest advantage here. Now, I've played my opponent before, so I actually know that against e4 he often plays knight c6 as well, plays the Nimzovich defense, and I think also against d4 he'll play knight c6, which can lead to either the chase variation, the two knights, the black knights tango, or if I follow up with d4, if I follow up d4 with e4, then we'll also transpose into a Nimzovich defense. So in any case, he's comfortable playing these openings, so I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, black doesn't have to worry about that, I guess. If you want to play the Nimzovich defense, then you can always play this knight c6, apparently against almost anything from white. Anyway, I was playing the Reti setup, and so I just decided to continue with that. And e5, the way black plays this part of the opening, I think is quite good. After knight c6, I don't know if that's really the best move there, but at this point, when I go for the Reti, he just puts his pawns in the center, and I think he gets quite a decent position out of the opening. See, I went d3 here to stop him from pushing on with e5, and he just went with d5. So all this is probably about even. Knight f6 is the normal move here, and he played bishop to d6, so we're just out of the opening book. There's nothing wrong with knight f6, and it's probably still an okay position, but let's continue on with the game. I went with b3, he went with bishop e6, went bishop b2, and he went with f5. And this is what I like about black's play. I often will play this f5 move, or in my case, f4. If I have this kind of position with colors reversed, if black is playing some kind of Pirc or modern defense, I will often try to arrange the f4 push. And the point is that there's no queen coming out here to deliver checks along the weakened diagonal because white's setup has prevented that from happening. So anyway, this should all be okay. I think the chess engine still gives an edge to white here, but it goes back and forth from one move to the next as to who it prefers. So I'll just say it's all in the range of about even. He took, and I took back. Yeah, I played c4 to try and provoke something in the center. I didn't want to leave this array of pawns controlling the center in black's hands. So you push those pawns forward and try and get a foothold in the center. And now b6. I would say this is the first slight mistake from black. There's nothing wrong, once again, with just a normal developing move like knight to f6, and I think black is fine there. But b6, it's hard to understand what the justification for that is. I guess maybe he's worried about the pawn push to c5 in some cases, but it would take me a while to arrange that, right? I'd have to get the knight out of the way and put a rook on the c file. But anyway, it does mean his bishop is going to be stable here for a long time. So I guess there is that benefit. But on the other hand, he's left his loose knight here, and I should really be looking around for tactics to exploit the loose knight. I really didn't notice. I was a little bit sleepy at the start of this game. I did not notice that knight was loose at first. And in any case, in this particular position, there's nothing great that I can do with the discovery, it appears. Well, looking at it with the chess engine, the engine didn't find anything. So it liked castling. But really, this is kind of a mistake because I've been neglecting my opportunities. And knight to c3, I'll have to flag this move as an actual mistake because I did have an opportunity to get a big advantage here. And so if you want to take a look at this position, and it's white's turn, see if you could figure out how you might best exploit this looseness in black's position. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. If you want some time to think about it, you could pause the video. The chess engine suggests knight to h4. is the best way to exploit that discovered attack on the knight. So the first point is that if the bishop defends, then you can actually grab the f-pawn because the bishop is kind of overloaded. It's defending the knight, but it's also protecting that f-pawn. So that's not even the best course according to the chess engine. The chess engine says the best thing to do is to actually sacrifice the exchange here with a move like knight e7. And after bishop takes, take back with the queen. And of course this leaves white with a substantial advantage being up the exchange, but black does have the bishop pair in an active position, so it's not entirely one-sided, but probably winning for white with good play. So that was my my big chance in this game, and I missed it by just playing knight to c3. And I remember thinking about this move for a while, but I hadn't yet spotted that that there's this loose knight on c6. I didn't spot it until the next move. Here he castled, and now I noticed that there was a loose knight, and I tried the move knight to g5. Knight h4 is not as effective anymore. It's still, you know, something to think about, but he can defend with queen e8, and now with the queen defending the knight, the bishop defending the f-pawn, I can't win any material, and should be okay. So knight g5 is not bad, but he can just drop his bishop back and defend the knight, and that's what he did. So I brought my knight into d5, and so the game has stayed, after I missed my one chance to get a big edge, the game has stayed in the range of about even, and stays there for a while. Let's see, after knight d5 he decides to kick my other knight. I could have gone back to f3. The chess engine finds that an acceptable alternative, but I wanted to keep the option open of taking back with the bishop here, and that's what happened. He took with the knight, and I took with the bishop, and then it's a check, so he moved his king out of check, and I continued with f4. I was wondering if this maybe was the start of my troubles, but well, the chess engine didn't find anything much better. At first it, not f3, at first it kind of liked the idea of the move e3, but after thinking for a while it basically evaluated them about the same. So I think we're still in the range of about even after f4. Let's see, he went queen f6, and I decided to take here. He took back, and then I just took here. So this really is the first move. Well, there was that one move where I missed an opportunity. This is the first move where my position starts to go downhill. So I think, you know, other than missing one move, this is the kind of first turning point of the game where my position kind of deteriorates a little bit. So the thing is, this trade leaves black with a good central position, and I could push d4. This is also, I mean, I have a pin on this knight, and this is an opportunity to make use of that. I mean, I guess this is your trump card in the Reti, and you should be looking at ways to exploit your control of that long diagonal. And this is one way to do it, so that if he takes with the knight, then I can just grab the rook in the corner and pick up the exchange. And if the bishop drops back, bishop d6, queen d2, I'm holding on to this big center, and well, I don't know if I should call it a big center, but I have more control of the center, and I've pushed his pieces back a little bit. My king position still looks a little loose, but actually this is given as a significant advantage for white. And it looks like all my pieces are getting into the game. This rook can come over somewhere, and this knight can hop into f4. So it looks like a good setup for white here. So actually the chess engine says the best move really is to take this pawn and give up the exchange. And this actually, black has quite a bit of compensation for the exchange here. For one thing, the line doesn't end here. Let's go ahead and follow the line out to the end. Say I play e3 to kick this knight away. He has knight e2 check, and it's a way of trading. So basically he picks up the other bishop, and my pawns are kind of a wreck. So black has the bishop pair, and does he have an extra pawn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he has a pawn in the bishop pair for the exchange. So that's decent compensation. The chess engine rates this as even. So so that d4 push with best play leads to another even position. So I guess that's what you would expect. It was pretty much an even game, more or less, all the way up to this point. But when I take here, it leaves black with some kind of persistent edge, it seems. Maybe because I've weakened my king side a little bit. Black's king is relatively safe. This bishop looks good for the moment, but I think my knight will get in the game. I mean, it's not like it's a really bad position for white, but it just seems to be a slight edge to black. Maybe because there's more central control that black has. Anyway, I continue with knight f4, and he went king to h7. I was threatening this knight to g6. That would have been a nice trick to get in, but he didn't fall for it. And then my second slight mistake. So the first was taking with the bishop instead of playing d4, and the second one is king g2. And as a result of these two maybe inaccuracies, black gets pretty much a good position. So queen d2 is the suggestion, which is a very logical move. There's no hurry to move the king. I could wait till I get checked if I want to move the king or deal with the check in another way. And why not just connect my rooks and prepare for them to join in the game? So that's the way to play it. So this combination of bishop takes e5 and king to g2 has landed me in a bit of hot water. And let's see, he could immediately kick my knight with g5. That's the chess engine's recommendation for the best move. And the knight has to go back to h3, which is kind of an ugly square. Or I could try some complicated lines starting with d4. After g5, d4 was a possibility, but it was messy. Anyway, all that left black with some edge. Let's see. He played rook a to e8, still keeping an edge. I went e4 here, trying to counter some of that pressure on the center. He went knight to d4, dropping his knight into that good square. I decided to exchange here. He took with the bishop. And now I play queen d2 finally. I'm trying to figure out how to oppose this central pressure, and my idea is to place the rook over. But there is, and actually I wasn't feeling that bad about my position. I thought I was doing okay, but there is a weakness to my position here that that black spots here and takes advantage of. He plays c6. And the weakness to my position is that this bishop, even though it's nicely posted there, it can be chased away. It can be chased away, so it's not a permanent outpost, and it doesn't have good squares to go to. I really should have gone to, well, first I played rook a to e1, which is a good intermediate move. Push the queen back, and here I should have just gone to e4. That's the way to play it. Now, I didn't like this position. I didn't want to get into this kind of position where he takes. I take back with a pawn, and I'm left with these three isolated pawns. And other than that, material equality. So there's definitely an edge to black in this position, and and I wasn't looking forward to a grim battle of trying to hold on to my pawns. Although on the plus side, this is a passed pawn, the one in the center here. So if I ever manage to get this down into an endgame, maybe there's possibilities of doing something with the passed pawn. But basically, this is just a good position for black. But that was the only move. That was the best move. And bishop to f3 loses immediately to the same tactic that happened in the game. So with that as a clue, you want to, if you want to see if you can spot the best move for black here, see if you can find the way for black to exploit this position. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. I'll pause the video if you want time to think about it. What black can play here is knight takes f3. And, well, if I take with the king, maybe I don't lose material, but it's kind of ugly with my king exposed. So kind of the normal recapture is rook takes f3, and maybe it's the best move too. I didn't look at the other line, but after that he has bishop e4 once again, exploiting this pin and the fact that his rook is defended, his bishop is defended by the rook. So even if I take his bishop, that loses the exchange, and otherwise he's going to win the exchange by just taking that rook. So yeah, I'm just losing the exchange here. Now he didn't follow up with that tactic right away. He spotted it a little while later. He played g5 first, and now this does give me a chance to save it. I start out with rook takes, and then there's only one move with the knight that keeps the game playable for white, and it's this move knight to h5. And you can see it's not a great move. You don't want to have to play a move like that, but if all other moves lose, then that's what you should play. The other moves I thought about, the knight could come back to h3, but then it runs into that fork. The pawn goes to g4 and forks the bishop and the knight. And in the game, when the knight goes to e2, it runs into exactly the tactic that we saw previously. My opponent had spotted this idea. And, I had calculated this all out, that when he takes here, he's unveiling an attack on my pawn. And I had calculated in advance that I could take with the rook and defend the pawn. And I just had overlooked this bishop to e4 move. And this is the kind of move that it's a very typical kind of mistake. I mean, if we back up to this position here, after he played g5, I had to calculate all of this out in this position, and this is where I decided to trade rooks and play knight e2. And it all looks good at that point. I realized that he's lining up against my pawn here, and I saw that he had the knight coming with tempo by taking the bishop. But it's not so easy in this position to see that bishop to e4 is going to be an effective move, because at the moment it's not legal. It's legal. It's just not a good move at the moment, because you can take with the pawn. But once again, after the knight leaves that square with tempo, then bishop to e4 is going to be happening. And so I had to be aware of it in this position. And so that's hard to see, especially in Blitz. But even in a slow game, I might overlook a tactic like that. Rook takes e8, rook takes e8, knight to e2 as I planned, and then he just grabbed on f3, and it's losing after knight e2, and there was nothing I could do here. I took with the rook, but everything loses. He goes bishop e4, and I went queen e3 to unpen and kind of force something, but unfortunately this goes with check. I mean, I might even have some chances here if that weren't check, because his rook is loose there, but because it's check, I have to take. And then he just stays the exchange up plus 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, the pawns are even. My pawns are a little weaker than his, but he's basically just a clean exchange up, and he has a winning edge here, and he keeps it for the rest of the game. He doesn't do anything special. He just kind of holds onto his material and chases me around a little bit and pokes and prods. Probably a good way to play, especially as I was low on time at this point. And here he played a5. I think here a faster way to finish the game off would be to play queen f5. That forces an exchange, because he's got this mate threat here that's hard to deal with. If I move my knight to protect that square, he can take my queen, or I can block with the queen, he can take the queen. So pretty much the best move is to exchange queens there, and then he goes for this endgame up and exchange, and a pretty easy win. But he doesn't have to play that way. And in fact, with white being so low on time, maybe it's a good idea to keep more force on the board, and force me to try and think of moves while he makes various threats. Threatens to take my knight here, and maybe threatens to take this pawn. I lined up for a discovered check. I was just trying any little trick I could find, but he blocks everything. He didn't really make any mistakes in that last part of the game, and I just ran out of time at this point. But of course, I am losing as well. So anyway, I thought a very good game from Black, except for that one peculiar move, b3, leaving his knight on, b6, leaving his knight on c6 undefended and allowing that one tactic in the opening. Except for that misstep near the beginning, he played a good game. Now, Goliath, I just wanted to say, I've played him many times, and overall I have a record of 19 wins and 25 losses. So I think he's a slightly stronger player than I am. But what was interesting when I was looking at our statistics is that with Black, I have a winning record. I have 12 wins to 11 losses and 2 draws. I think he plays offbeat openings as white as well, but I forget what he plays. And then as black, like I said, he plays the Nimzovich all the time. I have 7 wins to 14 losses, so he has a very good record against me as black. It's 7 wins, 14 losses, and 1 draw. So he's a tough nut to crack with his Nimzovich defense and his knight c6 move. Although he makes mistakes, he moves quick, and I have had some wins with black against him as well. Anyway, interesting game. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon.